All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here this morning. We did the
You're
thing.
welcome.
You're welcome. Hey, welcome. So we've got some ladies. If you've got a question, put it in the chat. And yeah, let's jump right into it. Hi, Terrence. Hi, Luke. How you doing this morning? Hi, Jackson.
Hello.
I'm doing great.
Doing great, Katie. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm feeling more just like a mellow Wednesday morning, but I'm so happy to be here.
Good.
So let's jump right into it. A lot of ladies want to know who are the dudes in the Her AI group. So why don't you guys introduce yourself to the Her AI Advantage community?
I'll do it just because I'm the
Kick it off.
oldest. So Luke and myself are our business partners. We started Grow IT Partners 3 years ago, I think 2.5 years ago, something like that, and have built up an agency helping IT consulting firms, SaaS software platforms, anyone kind of under the IT tech and realm, because a lot of those folks really need help with marketing. And we started off by, signing, 6-figure retainers with those clients, helping them kind of go from basically a reliance on referrals and their network for growing their firms. They'd grown their firms to, between, let's call it 1 and 10 million, but a lot of them were like in that $2 to $5 million range, and just helping them basically start putting some sales and marketing infrastructure into place. And just by doing that over the last few years, just specifically in IT and tech, that's really helped us learn their pains and what their needs are. But we really evolved a lot of our offering from just, kind of doing a lot of stuff for them to then helping them, put content out into the market, both on YouTube and more importantly on LinkedIn. And then it evolved to where we created an offer using meta ads, so Facebook and Instagram, and building out sales marketing funnels for them, to basically pull people off of Meta to a marketing funnel to then drive sales calls for them, which is really hard to do in that industry just because everything is typically relationship driven. But so now we've got this full plethora of experience under that realm. Jackson came in and helped us, I don't know, almost a year ago, maybe, into our sales function because we quickly started growing that side. And Luke and I needed to step out and start building out operations, all those fun things. But anyway, fast forward to where I think, Katie, like I've posted in your group, right? It was several weeks ago in your kitchen in South Carolina. I live in Boise, Idaho. And we were in your kitchen and talking about some of the different, where AI is going and the different needs. And we're in it. We've been feet into it for the last 2 years, like Luke and I, like deep into it. And part of that is probably because we were involved in IT and tech firms. So we just kind of got pulled in. But the conversation that we had in your kitchen was like, hey, there's a serious need out there. And I know you've always been, trying to help women advance their careers, advance businesses, et cetera. You're a big proponent of that. And so I was like, hey, there's probably an opportunity here for us to kind of put something together. We didn't know what it was going to look like. Right. But anyway, fast forward to, Her AI, and that's where we're at today. And, I think we see a huge gap, a lot of huge gaps in the marketplace overall, and a lot of opportunity, a ton of opportunity. Businesses aren't as sophisticated at this as you think. So I think a lot of us, and sorry, I'm going on a soapbox here, but give me just a minute. Like a lot of us internalize like, oh, I'm so behind, right? Like, and I know, Katie, the conversation we had, you're like, I don't even know, right? And I'm like, listen, we're gonna crawl, walk, run. But a lot of businesses are in that same position, and there's just so much opportunity right now for people to start businesses, to them to make their businesses, even if it's just a small little home business, substantially more efficient, drive more revenue. It's just the opportunities are tremendous. And in my 30-year career, I've never seen them like this. Even I came in the business world when the internet came about, right? It was I started my first job out of college in like 94. And that's just when the internet started coming into things. And this AI and LLMs and what it can do for business makes that look like nothing, like a blip in the radar. So anyway, I'll get off the soapbox here and let Luke introduce himself too.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
think
I'll-
just hold on one second because I think you're right. I think Terrence, your experience parallels a lot of the women in this community's experience, right? Because we've got a lot of experience and we've seen these waves and things like that. So first burning question is obviously we're the two Branleys. Terrence is my brother-in-law, right? Wouldn't it be great if we weren't even related, if it was just like a happy coincidence that we were both Branleys or
I've
something?
never seen it. A lot of people. I've never seen anyone with a Brandley name that we're not related to.
We're it
But
in the
yes, that
US
would be.
for sure.
Yeah.
We're it in the US. If it comes up, it's always it's one of us. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So he's my brother-in-law. But yeah, he did. So Terrence, in your wealth of experience, what are you loving about being in this group? What are you loving about hanging out with the ladies of Her AI compared to all your other
I,
AI groups?
So I think the big thing, and this will probably help because I know you've shared me some stuff, is that what we're seeing on the marketplace, there's a lot of, and again, I don't like using grouping of guys and girls, but like what we're seeing is typically it's a lot of guys are out there building automations and talking tech and geek stuff, a tremendous amount. And what they're missing is that there's a huge gap between building these automations and this tech stuff and the tech stack and all this stuff, right? That frankly Luke understands a lot better than I do. And I'm like a ideas person and like, hey, let's put this into real life. And they're missing it because business owners and a lot of people out there aren't thinking in terms of like this productized automation thing. So you got a lot of these guys doing this tech stuff, like, hey, look at this cool stuff, Legos I'm building, like guys like to do. Hey, look at this cool stuff I'm building, right? But there's a huge disparity gap between what everyone else in the marketplace understands and how that can even impact their business, or how do they even get there? How do they even crawl themselves as business owners before they can walk and run? So I see that as a huge opportunity. And a lot of guys, hence your question to her AI, are going the wrong direction with it. They're going right to the automation. Look at the cool Legos I'm building, rather than, hey, let's take a holistic understanding of this, right? And let's listen to business owners, things that us guys don't do well. We're not going to listen. We go, build it first and then try and tell everyone how great it is. So I think that's a big thing I'm seeing is a huge opportunity for women in this space to think and bring a different perspective and approach to it.
That's what I'm digging too. I agree. There's a lot of vulnerability here in this group of people that ask questions and say, I'm stuck here, help me out, right? Just building a huge community. So I
You're
would
not
agree.
alone. I want to make sure I articulate that enough because we talk. Let me seize on that for a second. We talk with IT tech guys all the time, and I'm talking about guys that are talking with Fortune 500 and 1000 C level type of folks. They don't have clarity on it. Like there is a lot of mud in the marketplace right now. So don't think that you are behind. There is a lot of mud. There is a lot of unclear direction throughout the entire chain in terms of like CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, mid-market, $50 million companies. Like they don't know. So like don't stress about that. Like I said, Luke and I kind of got pulled into this over the last 2 years. So we know a lot and when we're swimming in our own heads, but like trust me, 98% of the market of the out there is just like you are in this group. Trust me on that.
Yeah. Well, it's good to know. It's always nice to know that the questions that are in our head, other people have. All right, so I'm going to move to Luke. And Luke, we definitely, right, you're the brains behind the organization. Let's just be honest. If you want,
That's true. I'm the good looks and Luke is the brains.
that's right. That's right. So Luke, what's your background? How did you end up here? What do we need to know about you?
yeah, so I actually, back in college, I studied data science and AI. So I have a master's in data science and AI. And so I come from a little bit more of a technical background. But I really felt like, so I worked a corporate job for a few years or for a year or so, in the code, really doing a lot with AI, kind of in the weeds. And I felt like there was a much bigger need for this than just, coders and all that. I felt like AI was really something that was going to be taking the world by storm, and that a lot of people were going to need help with. And so that's really why I got out of the corporate world, started a business with Terrence, like he was mentioning. And I would say it's been like really eye-opening to me, even though I came from a technical, AI background. Just the amount that AI has allowed us to do in terms of ideation and creation, like throughout every stage of building a business, from ground zero all the way throughout, building to where we are now. We've used AI at every single stage in that journey. I use AI in my personal life. And so I'm just very passionate about the fact that this is a tool that people can use to help themselves, to build businesses, to better their personal lives. It doesn't need to be this scary concept that people are really like scared of. And that's really what my point of being here is. And helping with her AI advantages, helping the women in this group understand that it doesn't need to be this like scary topic that's coming for your job, or that's like associated with Terminator and robots that are going to take over the world. It's really a tool, and it's up to you how you use that tool. And so I think we have a really good opportunity here to show the women in this group, how they can use it to better themselves and use it effectively.
For sure. I mean, I'm still hopeful that we all get a Rosie robot from the Jetsons, but that I want one to clean my house. But okay, you learned something new about people. Luke, I did not know that you had like the letters behind your name that backed up. Every time I interact with you, you just know so much about AI, but I didn't know that. So that's impressive. I mean, you're impressive without that too, but Luke, what do you love the most about working? Because you obviously have, a technical knowledge of it. What do you love working the most about with people at all stages of AI development? What is fun for you about that?
See, I think that working with like people like the ones in this group is really exciting for me, because I'm so used to working with people who are very technical and very much in the weeds, and I don't necessarily enjoy that. But I think the coolest part of this whole journey and working with people with AI is working with people who are fairly like new to it, and seeing that reaction that they get when they first do something cool with ChatGPT, or first use Claude to help them create a write something. I think that's the coolest part, is seeing like the light bulb moment go off in people, where it's like, oh wow, this isn't something that scary. It's just like a tool that I can use to help me out. And so I love seeing, that first light bulb moment.
I couldn't agree. I mean, there's no greater joy than when you first get on ChatGPT and realize that the universe is at your fingertips. Like there, yeah. I
I have
want
a
to go back
question. I
and
have a
say,
question
what
for
was my
you,
first chat? What was that?
Katie. I have a question for you, just
Yeah,
along those lines, right? Like, so we were in
yeah,
your kitchen that day, right? And I
yeah.
kind of said to you, what was the advice that I gave you? Because you quickly implemented it, and it was, I think, game changing for you. But like, what was the advice that I kind of gave to you that helped you
Well, I
get
mean,
started?
first of all, you were saying, yeah, I just gave the same advice to, your 80-year-old mom, my mother-in-law, right? Peggy, who by the way is like a tech pioneer for an 80-year-old. But so there was that, like, hey, just do the same thing that she did. But no, I mean, the first thing was, hey, look, you're not gonna break it. Download it, right? Open it up, start playing around with it, and ask it some things. And I mean, that's like a challenge that you're always going to win, because if you do it, you're just going to want to do more, right? You're just going to be like, what else can I get this to do for me?
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that would be step one. Like, and I will say, I was talking to a lady in this group yesterday, and we were talking about how salty we were about it probably, 3 months ago, and how we were like, that's a kid thing, right? Like that's for ChatGPT is how I like cheat on a research paper. I don't need to do that, right? It's not for me. I don't need it. And then when we dove into the world, it was like, oh wow, like it's for everybody. So yeah. And then Jackson, you've been working with these two guys for a while. What can you tell us about yourself and about them? Give us the dirt.
Oh, well, I learned yesterday that Terrence used to be called Terry from somebody that he went to school with, so that was new for me. That's
That is funny.
yeah.
Yeah.
He told me how to
One of
say
the
it.
guys I went to high school with, Katie, ended up coming through our sales funnel from our ads campaign. Shout out to Dan, my football buddy. And so, yes, everyone that knows me from like my younger days knows me as Terry. right?
Yeah.
Versus
Something you
Terrence when I
learn.
got sophisticated after I graduated from college and decided I need a smarter name than Terry.
So
Mhm.
Jackson, did you say like we don't have a Terry, but we do have a Terrence? I don't
No, what
know.
I said was, "Oh, I'm gonna call him Terry tomorrow," and he was like, "No, you're
Everyone
not.
and
No."
everyone does it. Everyone, as soon as they hear it, they're like, "Oh, great! Now I'm gonna
Yeah,
call him Terry." It's like,
yeah.
yeah, it's
He
fine.
So
loves
you
it.
learn something new every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, back so I've been in for the longest for about a decade. I was in tech staffing, so I was in the staff augmentation world, working with a bunch of tech companies, really across the U.S. And so AI, when it started becoming more prevalent in those businesses, biggest thing that we saw, because we kind of saw this evolution of like cybersecurity was the main thing for a long time, and then when the more prevalent AI became, then to everybody's point here, it was kind of a fear based. Okay, AI is gonna take my job. It's going to there's the cybersecurity issues around AI. So that was a lot of the conversation. A lot of the companies hiring didn't know how to utilize it. So I've seen kind of the evolution of it happening, and it happened so quickly. And my favorite thing is having the conversations and the eye opening for with people that it does not have to be it's not a hindrance, it's an additive, right? It's not going to
Mm,
take away the human connection that you're able to facilitate. It's going to expedite the human connection because
yeah.
of everything that is at your fingertips. So it's cool to see how the utilization knowledge continues to expand and the realization like, okay, this is going to help me exponentially the more that I, to y'all's point, play around with it, learn from it,
Yeah.
see how I utilize it in my everyday life. I had a conversation 2 days ago with a woman who completely planned her entire family vacation utilizing ChatGPT. Every restaurant, every go to. And so there's so many more uses than I think people, businesses, small businesses, enterprise businesses, individuals realize.
Yeah, heck yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And you know what I think it's interesting, Jackson, is that's the same thing that I'm hearing is there's a lot of women in this group. They've got a lot of experience in their worlds. And the ones who are pulling from their models, as you mentioned, Terrence, right? Hey, I was in business when the internet came around and everyone needed a website. I was, and when they pull from those models, right? I was in marketing when social media became a thing and businesses were really afraid and, thought, gosh, I just need to get on this social media thing. What is this? When they pull from those models, then they can see, hey, look, AI is it's just this version. So it's a tool. What do we need to know about it? How can we deploy it for our ultimate objective? So absolutely. And that's what we're here for in her AI. So let's dig into it. We have been talking with ladies, getting a lot of feedback, and the themes are clear what people want to know. So where do you guys want to start? Do you want to
Where
start?
I want to hear what some of the
Oh,
themes are. I want to hear what some of the questions, some of the conversations going. Because that's the other thing, by the way, too. Like we're big on like it's funny. Yeah, let me and take a step there. And sorry, I'm just going to go on the soapbox again real
yeah.
quick, just because I think it's pertinent. Like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, when or is it Luke? Like 2.5 years ago, when Luke and I first started our firm, ChatGPT was very, very, very early. And we were
Mhm.
still having to do market research the old way, which is talking to people, which go figure, right? Like you talk to the market and typically going to tell you what their pain points are, what they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish. And it's so much easier today with, all the GPTs. However, it still does not beat one-to-one conversations and conversations that you've been having, Katie, and that we'll even continue to having in Q&A sessions like this. But I'm just curious as to what some of those questions, some of those themes that are coming up.
Well, I'm a big talking to people fan, as you know.
Yeah,
And
that's not
so,
going
and by
away.
the way, plug for if you are on the classroom page of Her AI Advantage, my calendar is up there and you can grab some time with me. You can grab 15, 20 minutes to jump on a call, making myself available for those. I just will never stop because it's the most fun thing I'm doing is meeting ladies in this community. So, yeah. So a lot of people are asking about the different bots out there. What's good for what? We want to know that, right? How do we use it better? So everyone, well, I will say, I think pretty soon you're going to start to see like shirts and stuff like Team Chat GPT or like, Suck it Gemini or something like that, right? But so I think that's a big one is just what are things good for? Because I would also say a lot of ladies in here are fiscally prudent and they don't want to pay for too many things. So people want to know, look, if I'm going to pay for one, what's the one I should do? And then, maybe like how long should I do it for? Should I think about these projects, those kind of things? So that's a pretty big one, is like there's a lot, market is saturated with things. What are the
Yeah.
good things and what are they good for?
Let me take a swing at it, and then I'm going to let Luke do it too, just because we both come from different perspectives. So let's talk just from a high level of what everyone knows. ChatGPT was kind of the first one, right? With and it was created by OpenAI, which is some guy that some people like, some people don't like. But there's ChatGPT, which is kind of like, let's call it the first one, right? And then you have like Gemini, which it's Google's LLM, right? And then you have Claude, which is, I believe, Anthropic, which I don't even know who Anthropic is. And then you have Perplexity, which kind of is a blend of a number of those. Then you have Grok, which is basically based on Elon Musk's version, and a lot of it's based on X and pulling information from
Yes.
there. Those are kind of the big ones. What did I forget? Manus, which is another one that's an obscure one. But if we just talked about the big three, let's just talk about what I think of the big three, or maybe big four, which is ChatGPT, Gemini,
And here's
Claude.
our poll in our group, by the way, that I just pulled up. So
Great.
yeah,
Give me
so
that.
ChatGPT is overwhelmingly winning the poll
Yeah,
right now with
no surprise.
people's go-to.
Yep.
Gemini's got one vote, which is you,
Okay.
Terrence. So we're very interested to
Okay.
hear about that.
Okay.
And then Claude's got a couple votes. Perplexity, people haven't jumped into that much.
Okay.
But we do have
this is good. This is helpful. Okay. This is helpful. Let's just talk Claude. Let's just talk ChatGPT and Claude. Because when we first started, Luke and I first started using those are probably the two that we were using the most. They are. And Claude was really, and still is, really, really good at copywriting. So we were using ChatGPT as kind of like our first general just go-to, almost like the same way that you would back in the day with Google, like Google it, right? It's like, hey, there were a ton of different search engines, or a few, but like ChatGPT is like the first go-to. But then we were using Claude for a number of different reasons. One, because it was really good at copywriting. So anything, and again, in marketing, a lot of what we do is copywriting ads, copywriting, video sales letters, copywriting blog articles, everything, right? So we were using Claude for copywriting, which is really, really good. Both, and then it started shifting a little. Then ChatGPT started getting good at copywriting, so we kind of went back to that. But I think it's gone back still the other way, where Claude to me is still like the winner in terms of copywriting. But
okay, so Claude you'll use for like writing stuff.
Yes.
Claude
and yes, and the other thing that both and again, I'm actually building a course for her AI that I was working on this morning. The two good things about both ChatGPT and Claude is that it has the ability to create projects, right? Where a Gemini doesn't. And I'm going to tie that in a second. So where Gemini is good at, this shouldn't surprise anyone, is doing research. Why? Because Gemini is part of Google. Google has, all the data from the, decades of Google search. So it's good at going out and using those crawlers to put together really comprehensive research data. So if you have anything, this is what I first suggestion, if you have anything that is research heavy, like you're like, hey, I want you to go do research in this, I would suggest using Gemini first. And these are free ones versions, by the way. I mean, obviously we have all the paid ones, but you can use Gemini as the free version. So use that to do research. That's my suggestion. But ChatGPT and Claude both have the capability of creating projects. So you can go into Gemini, do a research, right, function, download that doc, and then upload it into Claude or into ChatGPT as a project. Then what that does, you can start stacking those files and then using that as asking those, ChatGPT or Claude, hey, using the research that Gemini had found that I don't want to read through because it's extensive. They'll give you like 15 to 30 page research documents. You can then ask questions of both ChatGPT and Claude based on that information. So, those would probably
can we go on and do that right now, and I will show you my ChatGPT.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah. And I do, as you're doing that, I want to articulate too, like, and this took me a while to understand, right? Like when you go into ChatGPT and you just start a new chat, it's like literally walking up to the smartest person that has no context of anything, and you're just asking them to start from scratch. Now, as you continue to ask questions or iterate into that same chat, it will reference the conversation that you've had, right? Early in that chat. If
Yes.
you go to a new chat, it's like walking up to the new smartest person on the street and has no context of the conversation you had. But creating projects will allow you to stack context under multiple conversations. So,
Okay,
do you have an
I did
example?
learn that too because I sometimes what I will do is I'll be chatting with it and then my mind will shift and I'll just put in the next question into the same
Mhm.
chat and it holds on to the lens and I get kind of mad at it a little bit and then
Yes.
I know it's me. It's
And then
user.
you'll really get mad when frustrated when it stops you. It runs out and says, "Hey, you can't. You've overloaded me. You've given me too." When you keep a conversation going for a period of time, especially
Yeah.
with the free versions, and I'll be like, "Sorry, can't go any further."
No,
Um,
that is why I have you, ChatGPT, so you
yeah,
never tell me that. So, okay, so here is my, ChatGPT, and you can see, like, when you were saying projects, I was sort of
yeah,
saying, "Well, I'm sorry, what?" But I will say my good friend Renee in this group, who I've just recently met, she was telling me about projects, so I
yeah.
definitely wanna showcase it
So I
here.
want to,
But so I just have this running list, like, so,
yeah.
like, today, like, see,
Let
I
me ask you this: do you have any of those
remember.
chats that are multiple chats, different chats that are kind of that could be grouped under a project?
Oh, for
So
sure.
So
Yes, I mean,
let's just take
yeah,
two. Let's not overwhelm here. Let's just find two
me
of them
too.
that are in the similar
Awesome.
theme that
Okay.
you're trying to do.
So,
That you're trying to
I will
accomplish.
say I'm doing a lot of her AI Advantage stuff right now, so
Okay.
that would probably be my project.
Okay.
I wanted to create some really good polls for our group.
So find two
Yeah,
chats right
2
now
chats.
that are part of your overall her AI thing that you're working on. Just okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so here was a post that I wanted it to clean up for grammar and give me some
Okay.
suggestions on, and then I
Okay.
wanted it to give me polls for the next
Great.
7 days.
Those
Yeah.
are two per. So let's go to projects. Let's create a project.
So going to projects, I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm there.
And we're gonna
Awesome.
call it her AI,
Okay.
her AI Advantage.
Yep. Advantage.
There you
Okay.
go. All right. Now
Now
create
create
project.
it.
There you go. Cool.
Okay.
This is easy. All right.
Did it.
So once it's created now, to stop spinning.
Yep. There it is.
All
Have
right.
it.
So let's go back to those two.
So like right here, can I just pull it in?
So go to the three dots,
Okay.
move to
Move to
project. Look at that.
project.
Okay. And then take the other
Mm,
one.
I'll be like, oh, I want you in
Right.
there. Okay.
Here you go.
And then I
Okay.
click
So
here
now,
in their
yeah,
menu.
go back to it. Go back to that project. Yep. You may have to refresh just so you can.
It's not a problem. I pay for the expensive internet. It's fine. I can do that. Okay, wait. Did not do it? Oh, there it is.
There you go. Do the
Wow.
other one. Hang on.
Okay, so
So
now
now,
the advantage to that is it also does what? It holds on to all this information?
yes, yes, and it has context, right? So you can have multiple conversations that are under the Hooray Advantage. It now has context. So if you're in, let's call it the post cleanup invitation chat, for example, and you had
Mhm.
some questions where you want to be like bring in some of the context of the conversation you had with the 7 day poll roadmap. You can
Yeah,
reference that. It will start to what it does is it starts to, and this is part of why I'm building that course out.
yeah,
Again, a lot of stuff that's in my head and second nature and Luke too, right? Like I realize is important is that, and let me take a step back for a second. When you have these conversations with a chat GPT, just an initial conversation, right? It's just, like I said, it's walking up some guy or gal on the street that's the smartest person you know and you're starting a conversation from scratch.
yeah.
Projects allow you to basically build that person's memory so that the smartest person I just had the conversation with, he walks away. But tomorrow I see him. Well, tomorrow I don't have to start up the conversation from scratch again because
Mm,
he or she has the context, and that's what a project is. It has that memory, right, that you want, and understanding that, oh yeah, that's right, I had this 7 day poll roadmap conversation with Katie, and maybe that's what she's referring to, and you'll see it start popping up in different chats that you'll have under that project. And that's what you want, especially when you have a large project. right? And let me, without getting too complicated, like if I want to pull in some Gemini research, right? So I can go over to Gemini, I can
Sure.
do a deep research thing, and then pull that document and put it. So if you look there on the top right where it says add files, see it on the
Yes.
top right?
Oh, right here, yeah.
Yeah. So you can then add that. So you could go over to Gemini and do a deep research thing,
Like,
right?
let's
Like,
hit the
hey,
doc.
give me best practices on a 7-day poll roadmap for my new school community, and it will
Okay.
go and it will give you like 15 to 30 pages of just pertinent information, but just too much overload for me. And I will then go and put that as an add file to give research context. So you're helping that LLM project agent become smarter at the stuff that you want
What you
to
wanna
talk
know.
about and for it to give you better answers for. So I don't want
Yeah.
to get too off track here. Maybe Luke, do you have anything you'd add to this in terms of the projects and chats? You're on mute, by the way.
Mm.
I think the biggest thing that I'd add is this is where like projects and chats, like projects is where you're able to take something like ChatGPT and Claude and really just take it to the next level, because to Terrence's point, the context is the most important thing about this, right? And so whenever I'm first starting a project and first starting to do something with I always try and load in the project with as
Mm.
much information, data, context as I possibly can. And so typically what my process looks like here is I mostly use Claude for everything, because a lot of what I do involves writing and that type of thing. And I found it's by far the best copywriter. And so typically what I'll do is I'll just go load in a bunch of data into a Claude project, and then I'll use an AI tool called Whisper, where it allows me to just dictate directly to Claude, and I'll just brain dump everything that I'm thinking about for this project. Like, hey, I'm trying to create a course module on XYZ. Here's everything that I'm thinking about this course module. Here's kind of my end goal. Here's a bunch of data that I found, and just give the project all the possible context it can. Because then I find once it's up to speed and at the same level as I am in terms of the context of what we're trying to do, then I can work with it as like basically this really, really smart collaborator on the project, where I'm asking it questions. I'm like, do you think I should do this, or do you think I should do this? How would you start writing this, part of the course module? And so my biggest thing is use the projects to give, the large language model that you're using all the context, because then you can have really intelligent conversations with it and use it as a really good collaborator.
Okay, so this brings me to the other big question, which is prompting, right? Because that is the skill of how do we get out. So Luke, help me then. I've got this project. It's got some context, right? So it kind of knows I've run these 7-day polls. I've posted things like this in my Her Advantage school community. I want to, map out what are the next 5 days of my post. So, what would be a way that I can, instead of just asking that, what would be a way that I could level up my prompting ability in this project now that it has the previous context? So, what would you advise me to write, or like a roadmap?
And I think one of the biggest things here is telling it to leverage its knowledge, right? Because large language models are very smart, but they do exactly what you tell them to do. And so if you don't tell this project to like leverage its past knowledge, it's not going to plug into that. And so one of the biggest things when I am working with a project like this, I literally tell it explicitly at the start, using your entire knowledge base and all of the previous conversations that we've had, I want to write the next 5 polls for my school group. I'll let you.
I'm just writing it so that I can hold on to that phrase. I like that sentence starter. And all the previous conversations we have had. I know Terrence always gets mad at me because I type it instead of speak it, right?
No, no,
We have write the next 5 posts, right?
Yeah, and even more importantly here too, like so you can give it that first like you can give it that first, prompt, but typically what I'd add in there as well is like, you are my school post like assistant. I want you to write these posts in, and then give it like the tone that you want it to write it in. Because one of the biggest things that I've found is the baseline output of pretty much all the large language models is not very good. It's very like robotic. But I found that if you give it enough of your words, like that's why I love using the tool that actually Terrence put me on to, which is Whisper, because that allows me to then dictate directly to the model, and so I speak to it rather than type to it, and then I tell the model to actually use the tone that I was speaking to it with to write the post. And I found that Claude of all the models is best at then replicating my tone, because one of the biggest things, right, is like in this world where you can use ChatGPT to write anything, it it sticks out like a sore thumb when you actually do use it to write something, though. But if you do enough work with the models and tell it to use specific tones and give it enough of your actual speaking voice, it does a very, very good job of replicating your speaking tone when you actually write something. So the big things that I always leverage when I do prompting is I tell it to use its knowledge base and all the context. I give it a very clear, output that I want from it. I tell it exactly who it is supposed to be acting as. So, like, you're acting as my school post assistant here. And then I give it enough of my speaking that I can tell it to use my tone. Or, for example, when I'm writing something like an ad that I want Terrence to record, I'll take something that Terrence has written previously and I'll give the prompt Terrence's writing as input and tell it to match Terrence's writing style so that it's more natural for him when he reads it. So the models and the output you get from them is very, it starts out like at a 2 or 3, right? It's better than nothing, but there's all these little tips or tricks that you can use that actually pull it up to like a human like output that you're ready to use. And so I've gotten to the point where when I create something with Claude, and like maybe it's a YouTube script for me to write or a course module that I'm going to speaking, I can get it to the point where I don't even have to go make any edits because it knows my speaking style. It knows exactly what I want. And so then all I do is just go back and forth with it on like tweaks that I want it to make. And then, the end output, I'm just ready to go with.
Awesome. Okay. So big takeaways are the large language model is only as good as the data that you're putting into it, right? So you give it more human-like data, it's going to give you back human-like stuff that you want. So create a project. That way it's going to house all the stuff you've done before. It's got that data in one spot. And then I also loved your sentence starters that I think we should just all in this community be using, right? Like this guy right up here, using your entire knowledge base and all the previous conversations we've had. Do this thing for me. I also really like the whole act as my to do this for me, right? So give it a role and then tell it what you want it to do in the tone that you want it to do. So, okay, perfect. All right, I feel like I have grown smarter already in using ChatGPT and using my bot. So watch out, ChatGPT, for me this week. So awesome. Okay, where should we go to next? So that was a big thing. Was hey, what's good? I think that gets us to the majority of the ladies are using ChatGPT, want to explore some other things. So, Terrence, you mentioned Mantis, you mentioned, Gemini and how you can kind of collaborate with these tools. Let's lean into that a little bit more. So, maybe collaboration. Let's go collaboration first.
I think
wrap that up.
Yeah, so I think just to keep things simple, I would start using Gemini because Gemini is really good at research, and use that to ask it to do research and then to download those files. So like, let me pull mine up so I can,
Yeah.
Now I will say this is where the limitation of Gemini is currently. They do not allow you to have the capability to set up projects like Claude and like Claude and ChatGPT.
Yes. Luke, did you have something to add there?
Yeah, I will say, like, so I use Gemini in my workflow as well, but I don't like Gemini as like an all, like if the ladies in this group are looking for one LLM to use, Gemini would never be the one I pick
Yes.
because I don't think it's very good at writing or any of the typical things I do. So
Yeah.
that's why I use two, right? Because Gemini, to Terrence's point, is by far the best at deep research. It has all of Google's data from the past, decades. But I use it to like LLM flow, right? I'll do all my research in Gemini, and then I'll upload Gemini's research into Claude to do writing. And so I don't think Gemini is a good like one size all fits all like LLM to use. If you were looking for that, I'd use Claude or ChatGPT. But if you were going to be doing more sophisticated stuff like Terrence is talking about, Gemini for research, and then plug that research into something else.
Okay. Why does, as just like a tech background, why does Gemini feel like my friend? Like, why does it feel the most friendly, Luke? Like, I like how it talks to me.
Oh, really? I see. I hadn't noticed that. I do think it just comes down to the way that just like I was saying earlier, where it's like when I want an output, I tell it the exact tone I want. Right.
Oh,
The people who actually went and built Gemini, the coders, they're able to give it specific instructions on how it wants Gemini to interact with the end user. And so Gemini, like the Google engineers must have taken, if you've noticed that, hey, like act like a friend to the person that you're, working
totally.
with. And so
Do you think it just maybe it just sensed it? It was like, you need someone to talk to you. Your tweens are being mean to you. I feel like maybe that's it just knew. It just knew that like my 11-year-old daughter was mean to me that day. It's like, I'm gonna deliver this nice. Yeah.
So
All right, so Terrence, you're using them together. You're the one.
I'm just and I just want to walk through real quick just the
Yeah.
example we do, right? So like I typically will always just default it to deep research. We do have a paid version that does deep think, but that's a little too much sophisticated for this. So like I just put it in deep research, right? And you can see like I don't know, like we're just going to use what comes up as suggestions, which I don't know why it's telling me I should plan a trip to Japan for foodies, but like I just will use that as the example for right now. And it does take. That's the other thing too. It does do a good job. So where ChatGPT and Claude will try to give you instant answers, like meaning like it's like, hey man, did you really even think about this? Kind of like when I talk to my teenager, I'm like, hey man, did you really think about that before you did it? And the answer is no. But like Gemini does do a good job, like saying, hey, here's what I'm going to do. Here's my game plan for doing it. Now, typically I won't read through this like, hey, what's your game plan? It's like, you know what? I'd rather just you do it and make sure you're on track there, right? So once you start the research, it will go right. And it could take, I've had some that have taken several minutes to do, but it'll go right. And at the end, it will give you the ability to then download it. Right. And, that's when you can take that download. So you'll just take it down. You can download it in Google Docs, or I just typically download everything in PDF. I don't know what Luke does. I'll just download it in PDF, and then I will then take it and move it over into a Claude project or into a ChatGPT project, right? So like I'm gonna bounce over here. Let me see. Share this tab instead. So like, I'll take it and then say new project, right? Japan. I don't know what that was for foodies,
Japan
right?
for foodies. This is a project I desperately hope you're planning for our families in
Well,
2026.
I do love sushi, so I will say that.
Japan
And
for food. I only
so,
want to go if it's for foodies. That's it. I
but
only want to go then.
yeah.
That's it.
Okay. So, why am I? Oh, here we go. So instruction file. So this is under Claude, but it's very similar in ChatGPT, right? So you can give an overall instructions for your project, like, hey, I'm, trying to, plan a trip to go, Japan to try all the best, sushi restaurants there. Right. But here's a place where you can add files, right? So you can basically add it. Now you can connect it directly to your Google Drive. I don't. I just like to basically because I have too many Google profiles, but I just like to upload the document that comes from Gemini. So like, let's see here. Let's see if it's done. Did it do it? Open. Here we go. All right. So this is the output, right? I'm going to go to share and export.
We can't see that screen.
Sorry, I was moving too fast. So this is the Gemini, output. You can go to share and export here.
Awesome.
Export to docs. Hello, is it going? And then, like I said, I'll just download it. It's loading here. Maybe it's just heavy loading. I'll download it in. It does go to Google Docs automatically. I forgot about that. And then I'll just download it as a PDF. Download it. You can
And then
see
you'll
it
give
right
it to your
there.
client.
Here it
All right.
is. Right. School incubator. That's a different one. But it's pulling that one up.
We're not going to get Japan for foodies. I won't rest until we get Japan.
I don't know. I'm looking to see what happened to my Japan for foodies. It might still be thinking about it.
I think it's still thinking. I think that's why.
It probably is. All right.
There's
Then
so
doesn't
much
matter.
good stuff that it's
Yeah,
still
but-
thinking. Come on, we got
The
to
point being is I'm just going to upload the document, right?
Yes.
So like here's the one that I documented, which really doesn't have any pertinence to it, but whatever. Now, once that file, and you can upload multiple, documents. So there's some projects that I have, Luke, probably the same, that have several 10s and 11 type of different documents. And a lot of them have come from Gemini, because I just will be like, okay, hey, I have a question, go research it. And I'm just trying to feed it as much context and information and data in that, so that the questions that I ask have a reference point to data. So it's not having to just, because sometimes, those LLMs will just create information based on what they're guessing, rather than, so the more information that you can feed it, the better off it will be. So,
Okay,
Fine.
so I mean that's the big takeaway here, right? Is just give it information in the context that you want, right? Give it the tone you want, give it the role you want, right? The information it has, it's going to increase the output that you want to get. You're not going to have to do, and also, did you think about this? Wait, I didn't want it that way, right? All right. Awesome. Well, I have learned so much. With our last maybe 10 minutes or so, the other big burning question is really about business entrepreneurship, starting businesses. What do we need to know? So let's see. I know that that you guys have been in this world for a while. This is kind of what's drawing, the marriage of these two things, AI and business. So if you are a person who's building a business, you have a business, who wants to grow that business, what is worth knowing about AI, right? Where do I start the learning? That's what a lot of people are asking the question about, right? They're saying, hey, look, I know AI is a big thing. I've got a business. I know, I want to ride that wave of AI. How do I do it? What do I need to know about it in terms of that context of business?
I'm going to give a 30,000 foot view, and then I'll let
Yeah.
Luke give his thing. And that is, there has never been a better time to build a business or start a business than there is now. So I've been in business for 30 plus years. I've been an entrepreneur for a majority of that. And there's never been a better time. Like a lot of the bars are being reset, and, just everything's just being almost completely reconstructed, way more so than it was even when the internet came into business. So from an entrepreneur or someone who wants to become an entrepreneur or wants to start a business, there has never been a better time. Everything in the business world is being almost completely reset with AI. And so the first step then would be like, just start using it. Like, again, that's the whole point of like even her AI, right? Is just to kind of go on this journey and to start using it. The bar is, I keep using that bar is so low, but like if you can be proficient at using 2 or 3 different LLMs, just like we talked about today, ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini, you're going to be ahead of like 99% of the world, including business owners. And therefore, then there's an opportunity for you then to help a business owner, right? And there's a number of different ways, and we'll talk about it. But I think from this standpoint, I would just tell you that this is the greatest opportunity in my business entrepreneur lifetime. And it doesn't matter if it's me versus someone who just doesn't have any, like, this is your first, right? Like, you haven't started a business before, right? And so you coming in this world, I'm telling you, yeah, you can build a 6-figure business easily, Katie. Like, and I think that's the encouragement I would give to everybody, is like, there has never been a better time.
So AI has equalized, right? Is the great equalizer. It has opened up the opportunity for people, and the barrier to entry is a lot lower. How about you, Luke? What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just echo what Terrence said there. I mean, like, traditionally, I feel like starting a business, there's so much that you have to think about, right? And so much that you have to do, the market research, copywriting, coming up with offers, coming up with sales pitches, all that stuff. And it's really gotten to the point that with AI as your like assistant for this, you're able to spin up all that stuff in a tenth of the time that you used to be able to. And I think that this is going to benefit the beginners, the like people who are starting from ground zero more than anybody, because it does seem like a very, daunting task, right, to start a business. And so all I'd say is, to Terrence's point, like, it has never been easier. Like, Terrence and I will whip up a new business idea like every couple of weeks or so, and we'll go through the testing process with AI to figure out, if it has legs, and come up with our initial messaging and all that. And it takes us like a day or two to do that, versus it would have taken us months to do that beforehand. And so if you're a beginner in this process, really lean on it to help you come up with ideas. Lean on it to help you come up with your, copywriting, your sales stuff, what to offer. Like, it is the best time to be doing this. And so really use AI as to your advantage, rather than, as this scary thing that you don't want to touch.
Yeah. I mean, I think what you're hitting on there, Luke, is that AI now puts the information in your hands, right? And it's at
It
your
does, yeah.
fingertips instead of, so in the history of the world, right? I mean, I'll just say this. I think there's always been ladies out there in the community, right? Like lady hustlers who are, going to work, feeding their kids, doing the things, running to baseball practice. And then after all of that is done, go into night school to learn how to write a business plan, to learn how to, market their business, to do those kind of things. And now AI says, okay, look, we can cut that time in half, in a fraction of seconds. It's right there. So I think what you're saying is what you just need to learn how to do is just sort of pulling this together from the tools that we've just showcased here today, right? Is you just need to learn how to tap into that, right? To give it the identity that you want it to have, to pull that out of there, to know what data to sort of put into it, to build a project to house that all together, right? If you can harness that tool, then whatever it is your dream, whatever it is you want to do, then you can make that happen for sure. Yeah. And I would say also there's a lot of entrepreneurs in here that have businesses non-AI, right? They're not, they don't want to be there are a lot of ladies who want to be AI consultants. There's a lot of ladies that are in the non-AI industry, but they want to use AI to grow, to innovate, to stay ahead. What should they be learning right now to do that effectively?
I think the same thing we talked about, which is just using the different LLMs. And so, like, I don't know if there's an example, like, I'll just give a couple examples, like someone in the legal field, right? Like, you can literally take, documentations and load it into that are public documents, or that are in, I'm trying to think of the law database and stuff, right? But you can use that to be a 10 or 100x attorney. You can do things that the big firms do, right? So giving yourself a way unfair advantage by using those tools, like, you could be in finance and accounting, anything in spreadsheets or anything, like the ability to make a business more efficient and to 100x yourself. Like, and I just want to make a point, like, there will be relatively soon a $1 billion valuation on a company that is probably run by 2 to 3 people. And that's mind blowing to think about. But that I just want the ground level entrepreneurs like us to realize that these LMs give you the capability to 10 and 100x your current business, make it more efficient, drive more revenue, make it more profitable, and more importantly, build it backwards from the business that you want it to be able to scale a business without scaling your time, right? So that old, like, freedom thing, right? Like, building a business that gives you more freedom. There's never been a better time for that, than using these LLM tools in an existing business. So if you have an existing business, meaning that's getting revenue, that's profitable, you can use these tools to make your business far more scalable and require less of your time. What is better than that from an entrepreneur standpoint?
Yeah. Yeah. You bring up such a good point about just the transition, and that I think what you're hitting on is that if you to get into this world, it's a mindset shift. Because, Terrence, what you're speaking to is, when you and I came up in the business world, right, it was, hey, and we have a marketing department, and we have HR, and we have all of these siloed things that do this for us. And AI now can become that for us, right? You don't need each of those individual departments to write your contracts, to do your marketing, to do your social media. AI puts that in your hands, as long as you've got that prompting framework down. Yeah.
100%. And it's not hard to learn. It isn't. It really isn't.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. We are 2 minutes over, but even with the technical difficulties, we start on time, we end on time. Well, we didn't start on time, but we ended on
Good.
time. So, all right. Well, this was awesome. Thank you, as always,
Yeah,
guys. And then we're back at it on Friday, right?
love it.
So join us, ladies, on
Awesome.
Friday.